So I recently just saw Lord of the Rings War of Rohirrim, I hope I'm saying that right, and I would say it was definitely a disappointment. Now, I was actually particularly interested in watching this movie based off the animation style. Pretty interesting idea to combine Lord of the Rings with Japanese animation, and it just seems like a pair that would work well together. Now, while the animation for the most part of the film was very well done, had some nice looking effects here and there, with some exceptions at the beginning of the movie where it felt a bit clunky and kind of unnatural, that's really the only compliment that I can give this movie would be the animation itself. All the rest of the movie feels very basic and tame and just kind of uninspired. Now, the main issue that this movie had would be the story and characters. The story is just so bland and forgettable and kind of predictable at points. Another really big issue with this movie that brings the entire thing down would be the relationship between the main character and the antagonist of the film. It's implied that they have some sort of past history when they were younger, and now that they're adults they catch up and reveal that history, but it just feels so poorly developed, and like there's a 20-minute mark in the film that's missing where it really felt like it should have developed this at a younger point or earlier time in their life. So much relies on it, it's just so underdeveloped and you don't really find yourself caring about it at all. And all the scenes where they did try to kind of invoke emotions for that time just felt sort of forced and unnatural. The film also feels incredibly slow paced, and it doesn't feel like much happens in this movie at all. Like, most of the movie is just kind of spent waiting around, to be honest. There's some weird fan service thrown in near the end of the movie and kind of at random points throughout the film. Minor spoiler, at one point there are two orcs in the movie who are searching dead body for rings, and one of them just has a bag of rings and says, what does the Dark Lord or Mordor want with all these rings? But anybody who's seen or familiar with Lord of the Rings would realize that's not how it works, and that they can kind of sense where the one ring would be, so there's really no reason to go out sending a bunch of orcs to collect random rings. It just felt very odd, and it seemed like a very impractical way of achieving your goal. This movie really did not need to be over 2 hours long, it just felt like it wasted so much time. The music from the original trilogy is present in this movie, but it's just so poorly used, and at times it feels completely thrown in. When comparing the battle and fight scenes in this movie to the original trilogy, they just fail in comparison. They really do not have the strong direction and energy and tension and personality that those fight scenes had. And you know what, this movie is just so generic and unimpressive and kind of paint by numbers, I just find myself not even wanting to talk about it anymore. I originally gave this movie a 5 out of 10, but now I just feel as if it kind of deserves a 4, so there it is, 4 out of 10.